The Chinese aerospace these days is a story that keeps on giving. Not only we had two potentially sixth-generation fighters, a light carrier, the Fujian tests, supersonic drones and so on, we also have a radar aircraft, an AWACS. And speaking of this AWACS, it actually seems a regression to me. It is little known, but the Chinese have one of the largest fleets of airborne early warning aircraft in the world. The estimates vary, but we know that there are about 60 fixed-wing aircraft in service between the Air Force and the Navy, plus 15 airborne early warning helicopters embarked on carriers, but also on other ships. As a comparison, the United States Air Force operates only 21 E-3s, albeit the US Navy has 83 smaller E-2s. The Chinese operate at least three different types of AWACS, the KJ-200, the KJ-500 and the KJ-2000, all of them relatively modern. But now there is a new one, the KJ-3000. The KJ-3000 flew for the first time in November 2024, but a few small and blurry pictures have emerged on the Chinese social media at the end of December 2024. It wasn't unexpected, rumors of a new Chinese AWACS have been around for at least a couple of years. Pictures of wind tunnel models appeared on social media, suggesting that a new AWACS or a new electronic warfare aircraft was in the making. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In 2016, the PLAAF introduced in service the Y-20, a new transport aircraft. It is a large strategic transport roughly equivalent to the American C-17. It is an important aircraft for the development of Chinese aerospace industry because it was the first to use digital engineering and digital product definition. Xi'an, the aircraft manufacturer, has been one of the early adopters of these technologies, and they're now standard in China. Chinese sources stated that the requirement is about 400 aircraft, and it seems that between 50 and 60 aircraft are in service as per 2024. The cargo capacity is 66 tons, and the unrefueled range is a whopping 7,800 kilometers, when equipped with the WS-20 engines and external fuel tanks. It was designed since the beginning to be a very versatile airframe. In fact, the YY-20 is a tanker variant that was declared operational in early 2023. It is actually a hybrid configuration, that is, it still retains the transport capacity when the additional fuel tanks in the hold are disembarked. So it was only natural to think that the aircraft would have seen other variants. And in fact, here we are. But why the KJ-3000 is really needed? We just said that China has a large AWACS fleet that is pretty modern. Why do they need another one? Well, AWACS are crucial for situational awareness. They keep playing the cat-and-mouse game with American and other Western assets in areas like the South China Sea and around Taiwan. This is obviously the consequence of the increasing tension with China and other countries that are perceived to be on the same alignment, like Russia or Iran. And to have a balanced view of these tensions, you need a service like Ground News, which is sponsoring this video. Ground News is a website and an app that gathers related articles from more than 50,000 sources around the world in one place, so you can compare how different outlets cover the same subject. Every story comes with a clear breakdown of the political bias, credibility, ownership, and then headlines of the sources reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. One feature that I find particularly interesting in Ground News is the blind spot. That is a page that is showing the stories that have been covered disproportionately by one side of the political divide. This is a page that I often use because I want to have a balanced view of the world news, and while I was doing this, what? So this story is very strange. Iran praises the US for cutting foreign aid funding as it looks for a Trump message on nuclear talks. Ground News is showing the summary, telling me what this story is about, but I can see that 17 sources covered it, and look, there's nobody on the right covering it. These are stories that you risk missing entirely without ground news. Ground news is very important for my research since I try to be as factual and unbiased as I can about something that often is neither black nor white. If you sign up through my link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use to get unlimited access to all the features. I think Ground News is doing a great job and I hope you'll check them out. Please support the people who support me. There are three main types of AWACS in service in China: the KJ200, the KJ500 and the KJ2000. And the KJ500 is the main platform. It is a modern aircraft, it is talked quite highly by the US Navy, and it has already gone through some improvement iterations. However, it has a fundamental weakness that has nothing to do with the radar and the other electronic systems. It is a turboprop and it is small. So why would that be a problem? Surely there is enough room to install a powerful radar even on a turboprop after all, which is true, but there are other considerations. The first is that the cruise speed of the aircraft is between 500 and 550 km per hour, which is the speed of a turboprop that lugs around a big disc on the back. That is, the aircraft is quite slow, so the time spent in transit to and from the station is longer than the equivalent time required by a jet-powered aircraft. The endurance is estimated to be around 12 hours, which is excellent, but larger liners do better. So even the time on station is less than ideal. But it doesn't end here. The KJ500 is derived from the Y-8 transport, which in turn is a derivation from the Soviet Antonov 12. It is a small transport aircraft, which means that the internal space is limited. Why is this important? For at least two reasons. AWACS feature a large array of different electronic support systems whose antennas are spread all around the aircraft. However, when antennas are too close, they interfere with each other. Considering that weight, balance, structural and aerodynamic considerations all constrain the position of these antennas, it is easy to see how a large airframe has an advantage from this point of view. The second reason is all AWACS aircraft have operators on board. This is not a bug. This is a feature. In fact, each operator has the purpose of supporting a group of aircraft rather than monitoring the aircraft sensors. Each operator generally works on a multifunction console that takes up room inside the aircraft. This is becoming less important as the time goes by and every aircraft is becoming a node on the network, but the AWACS plane and the operators are the closest to the action, the closest to the sensors, which are the radar and all the other electronic support systems. Hence, they are less dependent from communications that could be disrupted than ground control centers. Moreover, all this equipment requires electrical power, and a small aircraft generally features less powerful engines and less powerful electric generators. For all these reasons, a larger airframe has advantages over a small one when used as the base of an AWACS aircraft. Well, to tell the truth, the Chinese do operate a larger airframe, the KJ2000. This is an aircraft that entered service in 2004, and it has an interesting story that involves the United States, Israel and Russia, but I won't go into the details now. It is a large aircraft, superficially similar to the Russian A-50, because in fact the airframe was derived from the Russian AWACS. The system on the KJ2000, though, are entirely Chinese, that is, the Russians sold the airframe only, with nothing inside. This aircraft might seem ticking all the boxes because it is quite large, and at the end of the day it is a specialized variant of the Russian Ilyushin 76. It can cruise above 800 km per hour, and it has a decent endurance of about 8 hours. But it has a problem of a different nature. The Chinese used to deploy a sizable fleet of Russian Ilyushin 76 for transport, but they are progressively getting rid of them and replacing them with the Y-20. In fact, they never established a local production of the aircraft, and the availability of spares from Russia has always been a bit problematic. The readiness of the Chinese Ilyushin 76 fleet has been mediocre for a long time, and the same problem affected the KJ2000. And in fact, they prefer developing the KJ500 on a less capable but entirely indigenous platform rather than expanding the KJ2000 fleet, which comprises only 4 aircraft. So, here we are with the KJ3000. We knew that something was in the making when we saw some pictures on Chinese social media of wind tunnel models of the Y-20 with large radomes above and below the fuselage. It was believed for some time that the Chinese were going for a conformal solution like the Israeli E-550A. Then this picture appeared showing a ground installation of AWACS radars. On the left you can see the KJ500 radar, and the one in the middle should be the KJ3000 one. And in fact, the available pictures of the aircraft in flight show a disc with a relatively large central band and 2 radomes on both sides. How do I know it's 2 radomes? It's easy, the different color. So, at least the main radar does not feature a conformal antenna. There may be other secondary radars on the aircraft that could be conformal or under radomes, but we can't see them on the pictures. So please notice the KJ500 has 3 radomes in the disc, and the disc does not rotate. This means that behind the dielectric there are 3 AESA arrays, that is 3 flat antennas composed by individual emitting and receiving elements that cover 360 degrees. The AESA radar beam can be steered electronically about 60 degrees on each side of the perpendicular to the plane of the antenna, and with 3 arrays you can cover about 360 degrees. Fixed antennas are preferred in most modern AWACS because it reduces the mechanical complexity and it decreases the time between updates. The E3-SPY2 radar, the classic that is still in service in various countries, makes a revolution every 10 seconds, which in turn is the minimum time between 2 updates on the console screen. It could be even longer, to be honest, if more than 1 pass is necessary to discriminate the target, or some computation is required before showing the tracks to the operator. More modern aircraft, with steering beams and more computational power, greatly reduce the update time. In theory, hundreds of updates per second should be possible with AESA radars. In practice, the update happens in single-digit seconds time. The A550 that we have already mentioned, for example, is credited with an update time of 3 to 4 seconds in the open sources, which means that it is certainly much faster. The KJ3000 with just 2 arrays must have a rotating disc, otherwise it won't be able to cover 360 degrees, which means that the updates will be at least a few seconds apart. From this point of view, this is a regression in respect to the KJ500. Surely, combining beam steering and rotation, you can have the best of both worlds, but it is still a solution more complex than those already in use. This begs the question of why the Chinese have chosen this configuration. The only explanation I can find is that in this way it is possible to install a larger array. And a larger array has several advantages, the most important being it can collect more reflected energy, thus enhancing the sensitivity. In a world where low observability is becoming the norm, it is surely useful. And if this is the reason, it must have been considered important enough to design something significantly more complex. So it seems that the Chinese will soon replace at least some of their AWACS platform with a new and modern one. Just another chapter of Chinese modernization, and we are all becoming used to it. Thank you very much for watching this short video. It has been an honor having your attention. A big thank you to all those who are supporting the channel financially on Patreon, by being a member, or by any of the other available means. You are absolute stars. I bring you all in my heart. If you can support the channel financially, that's perfectly fine. Do it only if you can. Please subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment, hit like, hit the bell so you will be notified when a new video comes out. So this is the end, but it's not the end of the Chinese news. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.
I want to point out that, despite my suggestion, Mr. Millennium left out most of the history of the Chinese Airborne Early Warning Complex. It is an extremely interesting story, and we will cover it soon. If he doesn't, I will do.